everyone. Thank you for joining us today. And we are the dream team of pediatricians back again. Woohoo! So we just want to say thank you and please subscribe to our channel. And today we're going to be talking about the myth of autism and vaccines. Is it a myth or is it a fact? And we have Dr. Renner, who's going to take it away.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Sanusi, and thank you very much, Dr. Mudashiru, for joining me on this one, because this is going to be a hot topic, like burning hot. So here's what it is. Let me just first of all start by saying, talking about what autism is. Autism essentially is a developmental brain condition in which a child has a tendency for impaired social communication, both verbal and non-verbal, and a tendency for sameness. So they have a tendency to be repetitive in certain behaviors, and they have what we call stereotypical behaviors. Either it's head bobbing, hand flapping, they might have light and sound sensitivity, and essentially it can impair functioning for individuals to a really large extent, depending on how severe they are on the spectrum. But what the real hot topic is that what causes autism? Till now, we actually do not know what causes autism. We think that, there might be some genetic tendency to it, but we've been unable to pinpoint something very specifically. However, what is actually making the rounds is that vaccines cause autism, and this has led a lot of parents to begin to refuse vaccines. Now, let me just look at the camera and say it. There is no evidence that autism is caused by vaccines. So as it stands, vaccines are not the cause of autism, and there are numerous studies to prove it. The reality is that the study that was actually done that linked autism with vaccines was a poorly conducted study, and it was retracted from the journal in which it was published. And as a matter of fact, the journal actually said that, they dissociated themselves from the study. So unfortunately, the news had already gone out, making the association between vaccines and autism. So Dr. Sanusi, tell us, what is your experience with this, vaccines and autism?
Okay, thank you. I guess I go first before later. So I was in a practice in the US where we had a lot of parents that were actually following an alternate vaccine schedule. And when you ask them why, they were worried that, we don't know for sure, but we think that maybe vaccines are related. We'd rather wait till they're older. And then a lot of parents brought up Japan, about how in Japan they wait till the children are 2 years old before they give vaccines. But the reason they give vaccines after the age of 2 is not what they thought. It's not because they're worried about autism. There are other reasons that they decided that they would do it later. So I don't really know about Japan. I've never worked there, and I have no clue about Japan. But the bottom line is there is a big anti-vaxxer movement, and they've kind of connected or tried to connect autism and vaccines, but there's really no indication to show that vaccines, because most times when a baby is born with autism, and you ask the parents, Mom, this is your third child or your fourth child. From the time the baby was born, was the baby the same as the other children? And the parents would say no. They would say from birth, this child was different. The cry was different. The child didn't really look at me. Look at my other children at 5 to 6 months, and they're looking, this child will turn away. And they noticed it even before they started getting the vaccine that they thought was the main, that they talked about being the main issue. So in my experience, honestly, I've seen parents that are very reluctant, and at the end of the day, our job as physicians is to educate. And once they were educated, they would, in the end, they would be like, okay, I'll do the vaccine, or I'll wait and do it later. Well, what we tried to support parents, even though we knew that they didn't have any basis for that. But we also talked about something else, as in you have a family where there's 3 children, and the first 2 are autistic and they got the vaccine, and the last one who didn't get the vaccine, it's fine. So
I had said that, so first of all, there's a tendency there's a genetic sort of correlation when it comes to autism, such that it runs in families. Identical twins are more likely to, if one is autistic, the other is more likely to be autistic. So essentially, there's a genetic component to autism. And here's what it is, meaning that if there's a genetic component, it means that any of the children can get it. 2 can get it, and the last one will be spared, simply because the genes just didn't fall that way. There was a doctor, in the US that was narrating how he was about to give a child a vaccine, and he did not, because maybe he wanted to wash his hands or do something. He had withdrawn the jab. And when he went to go and wash his hand or do whatever, the child had a seizure before he gave the vaccine. If he had given the vaccine and the child had the seizure, automatically the assumption would have been that it was the vaccine that caused it. So you see, sometimes because at the end of the day, and the vaccine that really people think causes autism is the MMR vaccine, and the time at which the MMR vaccine is administered is around the time when the symptoms of autism actually become visible. And here's what it is: because majority of children are actually already vaccinated, people will just assume that
it's the newest one.
It's the newest one. That is because the children are vaccinated, so it's the vaccines that are causing the autism. But the reality is that, and people say that, but Dr. Rena, autism is actually on the rise. But I've gone through the studies, and what's happening is that the diagnostic criteria for autism has actually been kind of expanded, such that then we would only be catching the most severe forms. But sometimes that's your colleague that doesn't like to talk at work. He might have autism. He might be on the spectrum, and you're thinking,
do you remember those queer uncles or aunties that you have? They act funny. They are kind of like funny. They might have been autistic.
True. So we're kind of expanding this, and that's so that we can help people who might be on the milder end of the spectrum function in a well-adapted way in society. So what I'd say is that research is definitely still ongoing. I think our job as physicians is to actually present the factual information that is based on evidence to parents, and then help them to make an informed decision. Number one, nobody is going to force you to take any vaccine. Depending on where you are, I mean, some some practices might not want you to continue.
Some practices will divorce you from their practice. Say you are not doing the vaccine as they have recommended from the American Academy of Pediatrics. And this I've seen in the US. A lot of pediatricians are like, because people are ready to sue when something
of course.
And the pediatricians are like, I'm not taking that liability. If you're not immunizing your child, then you cannot be in our practice.
But I mean, the UK, when it comes to anti-vaccine and people that refuse vaccines, what usually is their own reason why?
Again, first, number one, against autism. So again, even though I'm more into neonatology now, but even like then when I was in general pediatrics, we saw quite a few parents who refused to just refuse. And again, is the autism, and you just could not change their minds. Now, coming from more neonatalist perspective, in the UK, when babies are born, they're given vitamin K injections at birth. Even the vitamin K
became challenging.
They don't want it. They don't, and those are the time that they will not go on to give any other injections. But the point I wanted to make was, so these parents now, they're not giving vaccines because of autism, right? But then guess what? Measles is on the rise.
On the rise, yes.
Even in America, I read somewhere today in America, a child died from measles.
Yes.
Because they're not giving them, so you're trying to prevent autism, but then the child died from measles.
You
see what I'm saying? So
and I'm barely seeing any measles here in Nigeria. In this part of Lagos. So that's really...
You see? So you're trying to prevent one thing, but then you're putting the child at risk from something else.
That will kill them.
When there's been no evidence to prove what you're trying to avoid. So
I mean, so just not to overflow the issue, the reality is that, one, vaccines do not cause autism. Vaccines are safe. And what I'd say is that just get more knowledge, read, ask your doctor questions. In Nigeria, we will not deny UK because you refuse the vaccine. But please, just try and take the vaccine. That being said, I think I'd just like to, conclude by saying that, yes, we know that autism is a really challenging condition. But at the end of the day, receiving a vaccine is life-saving, not just for your child, but to protect the community as well. Vaccines aren't simply just about you alone. It's about protecting an entire community and making sure that everybody is as healthy as possible. So yeah, that's vaccines and autism.
In a nutshell.
Thank you.
And Mom and Dad, thank you.